There comes a moment in every person's life when something inside them quietly breaks. Not because life became unbearable. Not because people suddenly turned against them. But because they finally realize a painful truth. No one is coming. No one is secretly watching your struggle, waiting for the perfect moment to rescue you. No one lies awake wondering how to heal their pain. At first, that realization feels cruel. It feels lonely. It feels like abandonment. But the Stoics believed this moment wasn't the beginning of despair. It was the beginning of freedom. Because the day you stop waiting for someone else to save your life is the day you finally begin living it. Most people spend years chasing understanding, trying to explain themselves, trying to prove their worth, trying to convince others to care. Yet the harder they chase validation, the peace seems to drift away further. Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never discover. The greatest prison isn't rejection. It's dependence. Dependence on applause. Dependence on approval. Dependence on being understood. And once those chains are broken, no person can truly control you again. Today, you'll discover 5 Stoic lessons that transform loneliness into strength, rejection into wisdom, and silence into the greatest teacher you'll ever know. Because your strongest life doesn't begin when the world finally notices you. It begins the moment you stop needing it to.
Welcome to True Stoic Journal, the path to inner control.
Lesson number 1, stop waiting to be saved. Every human being carries a quiet expectation. If I suffer enough, someone will notice. If I stay patient long enough, someone will understand. If I keep sacrificing myself, eventually someone will appreciate me. It sounds comforting. But it quietly steals years of your life. Because while you're waiting, life keeps moving. The Stoics never believed peace came from another person's attention. It came from accepting reality exactly as it is. People are consumed by their own fears, their own responsibilities, their own invisible battles. Most aren't ignoring you because they don't value you. They're simply trying to survive their own lives. Once you understand this, resentment begins to disappear. You stop asking, why doesn't anyone understand me? And begin asking, what can I build without waiting for permission? That single question changes everything. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that expecting others to behave exactly as we wish only creates unnecessary suffering. Reality owes us nothing. But it offers us something far greater. Responsibility. And responsibility is where freedom begins. The next time you find yourself waiting for encouragement, ask, what's one action I can take today without anyone's approval? Then take it immediately. Small actions destroy helplessness. Lesson number 2, let silence build your character. Modern culture teaches us to announce everything. Our goals. Our struggles. Our achievements. Our emotions. But the Stoics believed real growth happens quietly. A tree doesn't become strong because people watch it grow. It becomes strong because it survives countless seasons no one ever sees. Your character grows the same way. Many people speak constantly about becoming disciplined. Few quietly practice discipline every single day. Seneca believed actions reveal character far more clearly than promises ever could. Imagine disappearing from unnecessary attention for 6 months. Not because you're hiding. Because you're building. Reading instead of arguing. Learning instead of complaining. Training instead of comparing. Healing instead of performing. When you finally return, people won't ask what happened. They'll simply notice you're different. Real transformation rarely announces itself. It reveals itself. That's why silence isn't emptiness. It's preparation. The loudest people often change the least. The quietest people often change the most. Choose one personal goal today. Tell no one. Allow your consistency, not your words, to introduce the new version of you. Lesson number 3, become the person you can depend on. One of the deepest forms of loneliness isn't being abandoned by others. It's abandoning yourself. Every time you break another promise to yourself, your confidence weakens. Every excuse becomes evidence that your own words cannot be trusted. But every promise you keep tells your mind something powerful. I can rely on myself. That sentence changes everything. Epictetus taught that freedom belongs to those who govern themselves, not those who control others. Self-respect isn't created through compliments. It's built through discipline. The workout you almost skipped. The difficult conversation you finally had. The book you finished. The habit you refused to quit. These small victories seem ordinary, but together they become an identity. Most people search outside themselves for certainty. The Stoic builds certainty from repeated action. That's why criticism loses its power. Because your confidence no longer depends on opinions. It depends on evidence. Evidence you've created through daily discipline. For the next 7 days, keep one simple promise to yourself without fail. Trust isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in ordinary ones repeated consistently. Lesson number 4, stop performing your pain. One of the greatest traps of modern life is believing that every wound must be witnessed. Every disappointment must be explained. Every emotional struggle must be shared. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that if people understood our pain, they would finally understand us. But that's rarely what happens. Most people don't carry your pain. They simply observe it. The Stoics never encouraged pretending that suffering didn't exist. They encouraged something far more powerful. Carry your suffering with dignity. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, disease, and constant uncertainty. Yet he never allowed pain to become his identity. He treated it as a teacher, not a performance. There's an enormous difference. A person who constantly performs their suffering remains attached to it. A person who quietly learns from suffering eventually grows beyond it. Think about a broken bone. If it never heals because you keep reopening the wound, recovery becomes impossible. Emotional wounds work the same way. Sometimes healing requires silence. Not because you're hiding. Because you're rebuilding. The strongest transformations happen when no one is watching. When no applause exists. When your only witness is your own conscience. That is where real character is formed. Not in public, but in private. Seneca believed adversity reveals character the same way fire reveals gold. It burns away everything false, leaving only what is real. Perhaps the pain you're carrying today isn't trying to destroy you. Perhaps it's trying to remove the version of you that no longer belongs in your future. The next time you're tempted to seek validation for your pain, pause. Instead of asking, who will understand me? Ask, what is this experience trying to teach me? That single question transforms suffering into wisdom. Lesson number 5, build a life that doesn't depend on applause. There comes a day when you stop needing everyone to understand your journey. And strangely, that is the day people begin respecting it. Not because you changed for them. Because you finally stopped changing for them. Most people spend years performing. Trying to appear successful. Trying to appear happy. Trying to appear important. But performance is exhausting. Character is peaceful. Epictetus reminded his students, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. That simple sentence contains an entire way of living. Your discipline speaks louder than your promises. Your consistency speaks louder than your opinions. Your peace speaks louder than your arguments. Imagine living one entire year without trying to impress anyone. You stop comparing. You stop defending. You stop chasing recognition. Instead, you wake up every morning asking only one question. Did I become a little wiser than yesterday? That question has the power to change an entire life. Because progress no longer depends on other people. It depends on your own commitment. Eventually, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing rejection. Because your value no longer depends on acceptance. You stop fearing loneliness. Because you've become comfortable with your own company. You stop fearing criticism. Because your character has become stronger than someone else's opinion. That is the quiet confidence every Stoic sought. Not confidence built upon success. Confidence is built upon self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Yet every evening, he reminded himself that the greatest victory wasn't conquering nations. He was conquering himself. The same opportunity exists for you every single day. Not through dramatic moments, but through ordinary choices repeated consistently. Choose discipline over excuses. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose growth over comfort. Again and again. Until the person staring back at you in the mirror no longer needs the world's permission to feel worthy. Tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself one question. If no one ever applauded my progress, would I continue? If your answer is yes. You're finally building a life that belongs to you. Life will never guarantee that people understand you. Some will misjudge your silence. Some will misunderstand your boundaries. Some will leave before seeing the person you're becoming. Let them. Your responsibility has never been to convince the world. Your responsibility has always been to become someone you can respect. Because when your peace depends upon applause, silence feels like rejection. But when your peace depends upon character, silence becomes freedom. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to True Stoic Journal for more timeless lessons on wisdom, resilience, discipline, and inner peace. The world may never fully understand your journey. It doesn't have to. The moment you stop waiting for others to recognize your value, you begin creating a life so deeply rooted in purpose that approval becomes unnecessary. And that is the moment you become truly free.